What happens to your body without modern medicine? Imagine waking up tomorrow in a world stripped of hospitals, pharmacies, antibiotics, or vaccines. No doctors to diagnose your symptoms, no pharmacies to hand you pills, no emergency rooms to rush into when disaster strikes. Just you, your body, and the raw reality of nature. The question isn't only chilling, it's eye-opening, because for most of human history, this was life. And to understand what you would face without modern medicine, we need to look back at the world before it existed. Picture a child with a simple ear infection. Today, a quick course of antibiotics clears it up in days. Without medicine, that infection can spread to the brain, becoming meningitis, a condition that kills or disables. Something as minor as a toothache could spiral into sepsis, a deadly blood infection. And childbirth? One of the riskiest events in human life. For thousands of years, women died in staggering numbers from complications, infections, and hemorrhages. In fact, before modern obstetrics, giving birth was one of the leading causes of death for women worldwide. But the danger didn't stop there. Imagine cutting your hand while cooking. You rinse it with water, maybe wrap it with cloth. But you have no antiseptics, no antibiotics. The wound festers. Bacteria multiply. In days, your entire arm is swollen, hot, throbbing with pain. Without surgical intervention or antibiotics, you face a terrifying choice: amputation or death. Something that today feels like a minor inconvenience once meant life-threatening consequences. Diseases that we now shrug off as childhood inconveniences were once nightmares. Measles, smallpox, whooping cough, polio, these weren't mild fevers. They were killers, sweeping through communities, leaving death, disability, or permanent scars. Smallpox alone wiped out hundreds of millions of lives before vaccines. Polio paralyzed thousands of children every year until the mid-20th century. Without modern medicine, every breath, every handshake, every crowded market could bring death. And let's not forget pain. We take for granted the relief of anesthesia during surgery. But before the 19th century, if you needed an operation, you were held down by friends or strapped to a chair while the surgeon worked quickly with a knife. The screams echoed through hospitals. Amputations took less than 5 minutes, not out of mercy, but necessity. The longer the cut, the greater the chance of shock and death. Imagine the agony of a broken bone set without morphine, or a tooth pulled without Novocaine. Pain was not just a symptom, it was a constant shadow. Even survival into adulthood was uncertain. Infant mortality was staggering. In some eras, as many as half of all children never lived past their 5th birthday. Death from diarrhea, pneumonia, or malnutrition was common. Something as simple as clean water was often unavailable. And for adults, average life expectancy rarely climbed beyond 40 years. Not because people couldn't live longer, but because so many died young from preventable causes. Now think about epidemics. Without vaccines, without antiviral drugs, without public health systems, plague swept like wildfire. The Black Death in the 14th century killed up to half of Europe's population. Cholera outbreaks devastated cities. In the 1800s, influenza pandemics struck suddenly, wiping out millions in weeks. In a world without modern medicine, these waves of death were not exceptions. They were the rhythm of life. So what happens to your body without modern medicine? It becomes vulnerable in ways that are almost unthinkable today. Your immune system is powerful, but it was never designed to face everything alone. Broken bones that now heal neatly might leave you crippled. Infections that vanish with a pill might consume you. Cancers that can sometimes be treated with surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation would go unchecked. Silent killers growing in the dark. Even a simple seasonal flu could mean the end. And yet, there's another side to the story. Without modern medicine, humans didn't simply collapse and vanish. They adapted. They relied on herbs, rituals, rest, and diet. Some natural remedies worked, like willow bark, the ancestor of aspirin. Others didn't, offering only comfort or false hope. Communities developed wisdom about clean water, fresh air, and sanitation, though often too late. And above all, the body itself is a survivor. Many people lived into old age, not because they had medicine, but because their bodies endured. Still, think about how fragile life truly was. You might have survived childhood illnesses, avoided accidents, and built a strong constitution. But even then, your chances of living to see grandchildren were slim. Without vaccines, you live at the mercy of microbes. Without antibiotics, the smallest cut was a gamble. Without surgery, hidden conditions like appendicitis or tumors were often a death sentence. This is why modern medicine is more than just a luxury. It is an invisible shield that allows us to live as long, as safely, and as comfortably as we do. It's why life expectancy has doubled in just a century. It's why something as simple as infection, once a terrifying lottery, is now barely a concern. It is a quiet miracle that hums behind every cough that heals, every wound that closes, every child that survives. So the next time you take a pill, get a shot, or drink clean water from your tap, remember what the world was like without it. Because even though modern medicine is far from perfect, without it, your body is not just at risk, it is defenseless. And while history shows us how far we've come, it also whispers a warning. Medicine is always evolving and the threats are never gone. New pandemics, antibiotic resistance, and hidden diseases remind us that our shield, though strong, is not unbreakable. And that leads to the real cliffhanger. If this is what life was like without modern medicine, what happens if we lose it again? With rising antibiotic resistance and new viral threats, that question may not be just history, it may be our future. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more.